Hello students, welcome to this video on how to transform the information given in a pie chart. In the examination, a pie chart is given. So a pie chart, it has some information in non-verbal form. That means not in written form. In the form of a picture, the information is given. And when you transform this information into a paragraph, what are the steps you have to follow? First of all, what is a pie chart? Look at this one. What is a pie chart? A pie chart is a type of graph that represents the data in a circular graph. That means a pie chart gives information about some data, and the pie chart is in which form? Circular form. That means in a round shape. And that's why a pie chart is also known as a circular chart. A pie chart is divided into different segments, parts, or slices representing the whole. So, if you look at a pie chart, you understand that it is divided into some parts. Each part is called a segment. Each part is called a segment or part or slice. And each part represents some percentage. And it gives information about some particular item. So this is what we have to understand. Each segment, that means each part in a pie chart, represent or shows or gives information about a portion of the total percentage. So if you count the different percentages given in each segment, they come to a total of 100. That means the different percentages shown in these different segments, they come to a total of 100. That is what we have to understand. Now, let us have a look at this pie chart. And before the starting of a pie chart or any bar graph, some information is given. Basic information is given. What is the basic information given here? Income distribution of Mr. Raja's family. Income distribution of Mr. Raja's family. That means this pie chart gives information about the income distribution of Mr. Raja's family. That means how Raja's family distribute their income. So this is what is the pie chart about. And now let us try to put the information in the form of a paragraph. When you transform this information into a paragraph, you have to understand what is the highest percentage and what is the least percentage, and how are the other percentages, and what are they allotted to what items they are allotted. So that is what we have to understand. And after having a complete comprehension or understanding of the pie chart only, we can change that information into a paragraph. Now let us try to change the information given here in the form of a paragraph. First of all, if you look at this one, different items are there: rent, grocery, transport, current, school fee, savings. So these are the different segments given in this pie chart. What we have to do is we have to change the information given here into verbal form. That means into the form of a paragraph. Now let us go. Rent. So what is the highest percentage allotted for rent here? 47%. So first of all, what does this pie chart show? Let us describe. This pie chart gives information about the, what does it show? The distribution of what? Mr. Raja's distribution of income of Mr. Raja's family. distribution of income of Mr. Raja's family. So first of all, you have to write what is given just above the pie chart. The first sentence must be about the heading or the title sentence. And then how much percentage is allotted to or spent on rent? 47%. Percentage of Mr. Raja's 47% of the income of whose family? Mr. Raja's family is spent on what? Rent. This is the information. 47% of Mr. Raja's family's income is spent on rent. And then next comes grocery. This 47%, it is the highest actually. And next comes grocery. How much percentage of Mr. Raja's family's income is spent on grocery? 20%. That's why 20% of income of the family. You need not write Mr. Raja's family again, the family, because already you have seen whose family it is spent on what? 20% grocery. Okay, we have completed two items. 20% of the family's income is spent on grocery, and then 13% of his income, the family's income is spent on savings, and 13 on school fees. That means 13% of income of the family is spent on savings, and 13% on what? 13% on savings and 13% on school fees. Right. Then next, on transport, how much percent of Mr. Raja's how much percentage of income do Mr. Raja's family spend on transport? Actually 5%. So 5% or Mr. Raja's family, you can say, you can change the sentences, spend 5% of the total income on what? 5% of the total income on transport. Right. Next one. One more item is there. On current, that means on electricity, Mr. Raja's family spend 2%. It is the least. So we have already mentioned Mr. Raja's family. That's why you can write now. The family spend only 2% of their total income on current. So like this. So like this, you can transform the information given in the form of a pie chart into a paragraph. So what we have understood here, the pie chart gives information about the distribution of income of Mr. Raja's family. 47% of the income of Mr. Raja's family is spent on rent. 20% of the family is spent on grocery. 13% of income of the family is spent on savings and 13% on school fee. Mr. Raja's family spend 5% of the total income on transport. The family spend only 2% of their total income on current. So like this, you can write some sentences, some 5 or 6 sentences, depending upon the number of segments given there. Now, similarly, let us go to have a look at another pie chart. Look at this pie chart. What does this pie chart show? It is also divided into segments because a pie chart is always divided into segments representing some items. Here, the pie chart shows the expenditure incurred by Mr. Sampath for construction of a house. So Mr. Sampath, he incurred some expenditure. He spent some money for construction of a house. So this information should also be changed into a paragraph. How to do it? Look at the segments first of all. What are the items given in each segment? Timber. Yes. He spent how much on timber? As a part of constructing his house, 10% of the amount, total amount. On supervision, 15%. On steel, 15%. On bricks, 15%. On cement, 20%. On labor, 25%. So this is the way Mr. Sampath spent some amount for the construction of his house. Now let us try to transform this information into a paragraph. What does the pie chart show first of all? This pie chart, or you can also write the given pie chart gives information about the expenditure. So in the title itself it is there. The expenditure incurred by Mr. Sampath for the construction of a house. So this is the basic information we have to give. So what is the pie chart about here? It is about the expenditure incurred by Mr. Sampath for construction of a house. So this is what we have to understand. So what is the highest percentage of amount that Mr. Sampath incurred or spent in the construction of his house? Look at this chart, 25%. He spent 25% of the total cost of construction on labor. So Mr. Sampath spent 25% of the total cost of construction on what? Labor. Right. Now let us move on to the other. Cement. Next highest is cement. So he spent how much amount on cement? 20%. So we have already mentioned Mr. Sampath. No need to write it again. He spent 20% of the total cost of construction on what? Cement. And then next comes bricks, and then steel, and then supervision. So he spent 15% each or equally on each of these items. So he spent 15, you can write like this also, 15% of the total cost of construction is, actually this is in passive voice, the previous sentences are in active voice, like that also you can write. He spent 20%, that is in active form, and now 15% of the total cost of construction is spent on what? Bricks. It is there. And then 15% on steel and 15% on supervision. The same amount, you need not write 15% again, you can write the same amount, the same percentage of cost is spent on what? Steel. And then supervision. So 15% of the total cost of construction is spent on supervision. Similarly, Mr. Ramesh, you can change the sentences like this. Mr. Sampath spent 15% of the total cost of construction of his house on 15% on what? Supervision. Let us move on to the last segment, that is timber. Right. On timber, Mr. Sampath how much percentage? 10% of the total cost of construction of his house. So this is the information given in the form of this pie chart actually. So basically it is the expenditure incurred by Mr. Sampath, that means the amount spent by Mr. Sampath for the construction of his house. And these are the segments, and each segment represents some item, and each item is represented by some percentage also. So this is the way we have to change the information into a paragraph. So this is from this non-verbal, that means the data given in the form of this pie chart into a paragraph. So let us have a look at this one. The given pie chart gives information about the expenditure incurred by Mr. Sampath for the construction of a house. Mr. Sampath spent 25% of the total cost of construction on labor. He spent 20% on total cost. He spent 20% of the total cost of construction on cement. 15% of the total cost of construction is spent on bricks. the same percentage of cost is spent on steel. Similarly, Mr. Sampath spent 15% of the total cost of construction of his house on supervision. On timber, Mr. Sampath spent 10% of the total cost of construction of his house. So like this, we can just change the information into a paragraph. So this is very simple actually. You need not write anything extra. You need not use your creativity actually. This information, this transformation of information is based on facts. So it is transformation. This is just factual information. That the data or the information given in the form of this pie chart is factual information. You just have to transform the facts from non-verbal to verbal. That means from this pie chart into a paragraph. That's all. So students, just these two pie charts are given just as models, and if you look at some more pie charts and try to transform them into paragraphs, you will have more understanding of how to transform these non-verbal items into verbal items. I hope all of you catch these points and have some practice to score good marks in your SSC examination. All the best to all of you. Thank you all for viewing this video.